Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer at Starbuck Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Thursday, the 2nd of November. And what a second day of the month this was. Look at the performance. This is pretty incredible in terms of a day. And I'm going to start with the macro stuff first because I really think that that's partly behind some of these moves. You know, I hear all the time with the stock market follow through day, right? I kind of think that the bonds had a follow through day. TLT was up 2.3%. I don't know if there is such a thing. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that before. I don't think so, but that's a heck of a rally in bonds the last 2 days. By the way, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So yeah, I mean, let's start with that. You could see Apple, by the way, which, there's so many names that have been reporting earnings and just a crazy amount of movers, between being up 10, 20%, some names, and, other names falling about the same same amount. But I don't know if I've ever seen a day like this morning where you had about 4 or 5 names that were up, anywhere from 15 to 30%. So just incredible, some of the earnings that reported after hours. So, do I think Apple is a big portion of the indices? There's no doubt. The Qs, SPY, and so forth. But is this going to change the picture in anything? I don't think so. I think that there's been already so many different earnings reports out. I don't think it's going to influence some of these names that are up 20%, I just don't think it's going to influence, but it will influence, of course, if a big move happens in Apple, it will influence the indices. That's just how it works. So let's bring up, I'm going to bring up the 30-year bond futures, but I mean, that's one heck of a move. It's one charge move just from where we were a couple days ago when I mentioned that this looked a bit vulnerable. It was sitting below the 5-period moving average, but that's a colossal move in bond futures. Or if you want to look at, I know some more people look at TLT than they look at the 30-year bond futures, but that's now above the value area for the month of November. So it really takes the stress, the pressure off equities when you see bonds rally like this. It gives them a little bit of some leeway, and really what I pay attention to is not just always the direction of the move, but also the volatility, like how big the move has been. The faster these things move, just like today, it works on both sides. And I really think that impacted the market quite a bit. The other story here is the dollar. Right, the dollar made a new high yesterday and got rejected. It was the dollar ETF. So new high yesterday. It went right up to our target there, which is 30.17. If you're a regular viewer of my video, you know that I've been talking about that 30.17 level for about a month, saying that we were kind of trading between the top of value for October and that virgin point of control. So I think that's pretty close enough to being taken out. I know I went over that in yesterday's video too, but you could see where this is sitting at, and you could see that we also, we do use multiple time frame analysis here at Tribeca Trade Group, and this also tagged that top of value as well. So that move has basically been realized. It has hit some resistance there in the dollar, and those two things kind of coinciding, really helping overall equities. And plus, in addition to that, there's been a huge amount of macro and micro, stock reports that have been, coming out and just driving some of these moves. But look at the VIX, by the way, down. What is the level of? I think we're in the 15 handle, all the way down to the 15 handle. So amazing, like how quickly these things happen, right? I'll show the VIX here too, but notice that this is now looking more like similar other bouts of volatility where you kind of move up. Highest we got was about 23 there in the VIX. We tagged that, and since moved down. Was that yet? That wasn't yesterday, was it? No, I don't. Oh, this is the weekly. I'm sorry. I'm on the weekly. No wonder why. But yeah, we tagged 20 back on back towards the end of October, right? And since then, it's kind of been a waterfall down in the VIX, right? So let's go over a couple of areas of the market, and let me go back to my spreadsheet. We'll talk about riskier areas of the market excelling, right? Again, what happens when you see this type of move in interest rates, right? Well, there's been a lot of hiding places. Even though the Qs did very well today, up 1.8%, they weren't the strongest area of the market. Those were the small caps. Again, why? Because a lot of those companies, have been under pressure with interest rates. Those smaller companies are forced, to have to finance their debt, right? Whereas a lot of like the bigger companies, speaking of Apple, like they refinanced a couple of years ago, right? So, and they've got a big amount of cash. So, yeah, you're going to see, rotation out of some of these areas into some areas like the home builders, right? Which we talked about in yesterday's video. And Builder was a really nice trade for me. Builder, BLD was another name that reported earnings. I actually took this trade off today. I didn't like I was happy to take the profits. I hit several targets with this one today, and it was kind of just a gift. This other one, BLD, which is Top Build, also had a huge day follow through from earnings. I don't know what the what the why they both with the correlation of both of those two names reporting BLD and BLDR, but they both had similar type moves. If this one stays above 250, it might be worthwhile here. We'll see if that does that in the next couple days. But overall, here's what this group looked like today. Very strong. The home builder ETF was up 3.4%. Now, of course, like ARK, which has been one of the worst groups. And if you don't believe me, I always like to back up when I say something is worst or best. But if you look at the performance of this, just so that there's no there's no doubt here, but year to date, this thing is underperformed. I guess the Qs is what the benchmark. It's up 13%. It's outperforming the SPY a little bit. Most of those gains were made in the beginning of the year. But look at the 1, 3, 5 year. So if you're thinking that you're going to extract, some type of great performance in this thing, or it's going to come back, look at the basket of names that's in there, right? It's growth at any cost. So again, I'm not trying to say anything negative here at this point. I'm just showing you what the numbers are, what they are, right? But look at the move today, up. This is just a colossal move, 8%. And again, sometimes the most beaten up areas when you have a catalyst like interest rates, they could really get going. Same thing with the clean energy stocks, right? These have been the worst area. Clean energy, solar, right? They've been under such pressure. So they actually were amongst the best performing groups. The clean energy ETF was up 6%. But again, if you look at this thing, right? Like, do you think like this is the start of a move or just kind of a bounce? I think it's just a bounce and a downtrend. But you could watch 2721, or of course you could try a trade in anything. Even though I'm a trend trader and I stay with names that are trending up, as long as you've got a stop and as long as you honor the stop, right? You can set your stops maybe to today's open, right? And that might be a trade if you're really interested in something like that. Also, what's kind of interesting is energy had a big day today, right? I don't think, of course, like the momentum names were going nuts today with clean energy and with the ARK and the small caps. But I thought it was pretty impressive what energy did today. Now that's also kind of been a beaten up area too when you look at like over the last week. A couple names that I thought have been really interesting, which is BKR, which reported earnings. There's been, again, so many earnings reports kind of get lost in the shuffle. It closed right at the top of value. I did take a position in this. Again, it's a bit of a slower mover, but I don't mind holding a couple slower movers for swing trade. Another one is Weatherford, right, which has been really solid too, right? Look at this thing, actually came out to new highs today. I'm going to talk about new highs too in just a minute. And then AR, which I got long the other day too, which is more of a natural gas name, actually broke above value, and this one saw some call activity today too. Sticking with that energy, we'll talk about uranium, Right? CCJ reported earnings. Look at this stock out to new highs, up to went up to $43 today. And again, if you look at some of the ETFs in this space, right, they all look pretty good. Here's URA, CEG, which is another name in the space. It's like a power company. Had good numbers. Speaking of power, right, this is another name that was like a darling, last year. Thinkorswim's not working. There we go. I would watch for this one. Again, you think, oh my God, I missed it. Up 9%. Well, look at what the stock's done. It's gone from 212. It went all the way down to 163. It's still at 175.20 is the level to watch there, right? Top of value, right? So let's see if there's a follow through that. I might be interested in this one if it can get back above its value area. I've traded this one a couple times, and have had some success with it over the years. All right, so that's PWR. Another one, again, these were not probably maybe not on top of your list, but I just thought very interesting. This is ATI, right? This is a metals type steel company, had a good move. Speaking of which, STLD, right? Also, which is a name, I think one of the best in breed. Now is finally moving above this range a little bit. So I like this chart a lot. It hasn't done very much, but I think it's a quality name. What about cars, right? Ferrari had good numbers, up 6%. Watch what it does around this, right up to the version point of control, right? I mentioned new highs versus new lows, right? I think this is actually the first time that we've seen this I think I want to go back and probably say like a month or so. Apologies, I don't have the data for you, but look at the 52-week new highs. We actually have a few more new or two more new highs than new lows today. All right, that's just the SPX when I look at this. It's not the whole market. All right, what about 4-week new highs? Ooh, look at this. Again, there's 116 new highs versus 24 new and again, this is 4-week or month. So really nice in there to see breadth. So what we want to see when the market goes up like this is breadth expansion, right? And breadth was super, super strong. You could see the indicator that I have. And it kind of stayed this way all day long. Look at the NYSE breadth was a +8. Have not seen that in a long time. So what's this? I can go through a lot more movers with you guys, but I don't want to keep the video for too long. Let's see, what did I do with the screen? Maybe I knocked it out. Oh, here it is. So here's the movers after the close, by the way. Not all great things here. Team, Frog, AGL, FTNT, that's the second quarter, I believe, that they've logged. That's bad. Bill is doing a Paycom impression down to 35%. So there's a decent amount of names that went down. Weight Watchers getting a little bit thinner. Haha, horrible joke. But then on the upside, you've got DOCN. Haven't looked at that name in a while. DigitalOcean. Square, really nice, but I mean, that name's been so beaten up. Expedia is up 9%. So it's actually, there's a few bigger movers to the downside today, but still, if we take this out and go to regular market, and look at Lemonade was up 47%. Roku was up, again, some of these names, Roku up 30%, Palantir, Dash was up 15%. I mean, just humongous moves in some of these momentum names, which also just, incredible, some of those moves. Fastly was up 15%. I thought we would see maybe Cloudflare up after hours, but not so much considering that Fastly, which I believe Cloudflare is a bit of a better company, but so in any event, let's just get back here and kind of sum up where we are right now. So we've got a couple catalysts going on. You had the bonds, the dollar confirming, but it's also that November seasonality. Sometimes those things line up together like that, right? We did get kind of a shakeout here with the S&P last week, which broke into the value area for the year. So this is a positive development, and we'll see. We've got one more day tomorrow. We've got the jobs report tomorrow morning, but yeah, it kind of looks like a shakeout. right? That move into the value area, which we've been holding on to for the better part of like 5-6 months. And we break into that and we break and we're right back above. So I view that as a positive development. Here's what Qs look like, right? We broke below this this bull pennant, right? And now we're kind of back in the middle of it. So another thing that kind of really changed, I talked about all those names that reported earnings that were strong, right? Last week you couldn't find more than a couple names, right, that were really doing that type of a move too. So it just feels like a little bit of a different environment now, and a more normal environment. So we will see if that continues. And I would be patient too with this market, right? Pick your spots for names. You could put on, what I generally do is try to like leg into some names, right? Because it's tough when everything gaps up like this, right? Now I had risk on, of course, coming into today, but and that helped. But just planning the whole month out, you'll get opportunities, right? Maybe if something happens with the jobs report tomorrow, maybe we get a little bit of a setback, right? And that might be a place to kind of add some risk. So that's it for tonight. By the way, you could go to tribecatradegroup.com. And if you put your email address in here, you can basically see what we do on a day-to-day basis, see how our process works. Monday through Thursday, we do send out a comprehensive midday note, and you'll get the midday note. You'll also get the end day note, which the midday note, I put in charts, names that I've gotten into, other charts that I think are decent setups, right? And anything that's new developing. And I try to make our notes really quickly to get through, right? So that you could extract as much information as possible about the day and themes and chart setups, as without spending more than a minute. So that's where you can go. And here's how our watch list did well this week, right? But some big winners in here, right? Synopsis, which I know nobody talks about, but is one of the best semi names out there. Crowd had a good week, right? This DRS is kind of interesting. We'll talk about that name at another time. TradeWeb, which I got long in the beginning of the week, up nicely. And this is not the overall performance. This is the performance from the trigger. ServiceNow, and Lowe's, which I traded yesterday. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.